I'm Lee Clancy. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Linn County. The League is a non-profit volunteer political organization which neither supports nor opposes any candidate or political party. The League encourages citizen participation in government and is open to anyone 16 years of age or older. This Mayor's Forum is part of our voter education effort to help voters make informed decisions at the upcoming elections. And we hope that over the course of this program this evening, you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to do for our city. Just to let you know how we're going to run this forum, we welcome to this candidates forum, there are 8 candidates, as you can see, who are running for the office of Cedar Rapids Mayor. I will start by explaining some procedures for the forum, which each candidate receives ahead of time. So, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes for a closing statement, and 2 one-minute rebuttals if they want to say something again about something that someone else said, and 1 minute to answer each question. They don't have to take all of their time, and I would encourage you not to take it just to ramble on. But take up to 2 minutes if you really feel that you need to explain your position. Opening statements will be done in the following order. Number 1, Jorel Robinson. 2, Lemi Tilahun. 3, Gary Hinzman. 4, Scott Olson. 5, Monica Vernon. 6, Kris Gulick. 7, Tim Pridegon. And 8, Brad Hart. The timekeepers are sitting here in this first row, and when there's half a minute left of your speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 30 seconds, indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your answer. At 15 seconds, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 15 seconds. So please wrap up when you see that stop sign, or when you see the card that says 15 seconds. Please wrap up when you see the stop sign. If you continue speaking after the stop sign is held up, I will quietly say thank you very much, and we will move on to the next person or the next question. Each candidate is allowed 2 rebuttals during this forum, and timers will keep track of how many each candidate uses. The candidates will confine their statements and their responses to relevant issues that are facing the city, and they will refrain from personal attacks. The closing statements will be held in the reverse order of the opening statements. So each person gets the equal opportunity for time. This forum is being recorded by Robin Cash of Neighborhood Watch Network News and will be available to watch at the lwwlinncounty.org and www.neighborhoodnetworknews.com websites. Pro Video is live streaming this event at the Pro Video Productions Facebook page, and our league will also tweet the information and have the link on our Facebook page as well. KHAS will be live streaming the Mayor's Forum at www.khasbd.com. If you haven't already done so, I would ask that you please turn your cell phones off now. If at any time during this forum you cannot hear either me or any of the candidates, please let us know. We request that you treat all candidates fairly. Please remain quiet throughout the forum. No clapping, cheering, or calling out, with the exception that after the closing statements, you may clap for all the candidates as you wish. You are encouraged to submit questions, and the questions should be written on these yellow sheets of paper that are available down here. There are league members who are also in the audience and can bring you a piece of paper as well. Questions must be addressed to all of the candidates and must apply to issues or qualifications for this particular office. Raise your hand if you'd like another piece of paper or to have your question collected. A league panel will review the questions for legibility, clarity, and applicability to all candidates. I will read as many questions as time allows, and sometimes I will combine similar questions. So if you don't hear your question read exactly the way you wrote it, that's because somebody else wrote something similar and I'm trying to combine them. We want to do this because we want to strive to cover as large a variety of topics as we possibly can. So, we will start with the candidates' opening statements, and Jorel Robinson will begin. 15 minutes.
Here?
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, born and raised. My name is Jorel Robinson. 30 years old, currently running for mayor. I want to thank everybody here for coming. Thank everybody, all the candidates. Even though this is probably third or fourth one, this is still a little nerve-wracking. So, I was born here, and I love this city, and that's exactly why I think everybody here is running. We appreciate what Cedar Rapids brings. It's a very special place to me. Growing up in Cedar Rapids, working at Jane Boy Community House, running basketball leagues, being with the kids, it's important to me. And it's important to me that everyday people get involved in the process. I'm currently looking at the way that City Council is laid out, and there's great leadership coming out of all the districts. And I have great respect for the people that currently serve in City Council. But I don't honestly feel that that's a true representation of the city of Cedar Rapids. And I feel that there's more youth and diversity in Cedar Rapids, and the mayor's position is a great way to link those bridges together and give City Council a different point of view from an everyday person. I get up and go work 40 hours. I have a daughter, a family I try to take care of. It's very important that we build a community that's for everyone, and a community that is leading and innovative. Working at GoDaddy, technology is something that the city could really take hold of, and in 2017 start increasing processes to increase revenue. And that's the big idea here. Bring young people to Cedar Rapids, increase our tax base, and stop charging citizens random fees or coming up with different fees to charge citizens. We bring more people to Cedar Rapids, we move ourselves in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could hold your applause, it'll just mean that we can get to more questions. So we'll to applaud at the very end. Lemi Tilahun.
Are we going to address the mic issue? Or?
Yes.
Okay. All right, no problem. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and League of Women's Voters, thank you for the opportunity to come out and speak to all of you. I, like Jorel, love this city, was raised in this city, and this city has embraced my family and made us who we are today. And so I am grateful and also humbled to be looking for an opportunity to serve the city and give back. A few things that I am concerned about with Cedar Rapids. One is the lack of representation amongst youth, whether it's in city government or throughout the city for that matter. And it is just a discouraging sign to be seeing young people who are talented and bright leaving the city in droves. And so it has been a motivating factor for me to step up and be a trailblazer, not only for my peers, but also to be able to show the general population in the city to be able to start taking chances on young people and create that opportunity, because without that opportunity, we would not know and would not be able to fulfill our full potential and keep us here, because eventually someone else is going to make a better offer elsewhere. And it's best that we keep our young people here to be able to work for us. Secondly, as our city is faced with challenges of its largest employer leaving town, one of the things that we have to consider is what could we do and how can we start thinking outside the box to be able to get entrepreneurs and small business to flourish here in town. And those are two of the reasons why I have stepped up to the challenge, and I'm ready to lead and serve the city. So I'd appreciate it if you consider me for your vote on November 7th.
Thank you. And here in Hinzman.
Well, we have a microphone, but it's really a short cord. I can't bend over like that. Well, good evening. My name is Gary Hinzman, and I too am a candidate for mayor. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event year after year and sometimes multiple times a year with different candidates. It's really a service so that you can learn what we're about and what we stand for. I've been serving this community for decades. Thank you. I spent 20 years on the Cedar Rapids Police Department, the last few years as the police chief, and then I went to the Department of Correctional Services where I spent another 24 years in that service. I have had a lot of experience running large, complex government organizations, and I think that's a benefit in the respect that I can come on board and work alongside the city manager and his staff and understand what the budget process and the public safety process and the personnel process is. And I think there are several things that I want to bring to your attention tonight. One of them is the whole issue of home rule and local control. Many of us have observed in the legislature in the last couple years an erosion of our local control. And it spills into many things that we do. It affects collective bargaining, minimum wage, voting registration laws. It affects whether or not we're going to have a casino and who's going to decide. Because you remember once we decided that we wanted one. It affects the traffic cameras and the revenues that come from that. And I think that we need to think long and hard about what's happening and how we can reverse that trend. The other thing, obviously, that I'm concerned about is public safety and gun violence. I chaired the commission on that, the committee on that for the last couple of years, and we'll continue going. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Gary.
Scott
Yep.
Olson.
Yep.
Thank you. I came to Cedar Rapids 56 years ago with some dreams and hopes for my future. What I didn't realize is the positive impact that Cedar Rapids would have on my life. I want to protect the best of what we have in this community, but also look forward because we have a lot of issues that need to be addressed to make our city even better. I've been fortunate to be able to found an organization like Four Oaks and 3 other nonprofits. And through that effort, I've learned that we still have many people in our community that are struggling. As a business person and a founder and a creator of 6 businesses, I understand the importance of the things and the issues we face as a business to grow our community and to bring people to work here. Add that to my 6 years of city council experience, and I feel that I bring something to the table that will make a difference in the future. OPN Architects, one of the groups I founded, has become the largest architectural firm in the state, and they are the designers of this award-winning facility. Four Oaks started serving 10 boys in Bertram, Iowa, and has grown to serve the entire state, 1,500 families and children a day, and 1,000 employees. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to serve on 50 boards and commissions, and many of those I've had leadership opportunities in. And so I'm trying to bring forward skill sets that I've learned through these years and this experience of learning to listen, to be able to find creative ideas, to find ways to find funding to make them happen, to put together a team that can act, and then to really make it happen. And so I'm proud to be here with these other candidates tonight to talk about the future of this great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica Vernon.
Hi, I'm Monica Vernon, and I love Cedar Rapids. I grew up here, built a family here, built a business here, and I'm running for mayor here because we came a long way after the '08 flood, but there's a long way we need to go. There's so much more work to be done. And I think we're at a critical point right now to choose our path forward. I was part of that strong leadership that helped us get over the devastating '08 flood and build up every city. And I'll bring those strong leadership skills and my experience and my caring attitude to achieve more for the citizens in the future. We need to do a better job repairing and maintaining our streets. We need to solve that challenge of our flood protection system for both sides of the river. And we need to continue to grow jobs and build our economy while we're doing all of the rest of that. You know, as I think about it, I have the vision, experience, and skills to make this a better city for all of us to live, work, and enjoy. I think the 8 years on city council that I spent and the 6 years as mayor pro tem or vice mayor really helped give me the experience and the background. And it means that on day one, I'll be able to roll up my sleeves and go to work for all of you. As the founder and former CEO of a local business, I know what it means to build jobs and invest in our economy. As a lifelong community volunteer, I know how to get organizations together to solve problems and create opportunities. It's your city. I want to work with all the people in all the neighborhoods. Together, we can build a better Cedar Rapids for all. Thank you. Kris Gulick.
Good evening, my name is Kris Gulick. I've had the privilege of serving on the City Council for the past 12 years, and that exposure and experience has provided me the opportunity to run for mayor now. During that time, I've been the president of the Iowa League of Cities, and I'm currently on the National League of Cities Executive Board. That experience there has provided me exposure to cities around the country where I can bring ideas that they have and try to replicate them here and tweak them for our own community. I used to own my own business, and I still have my CPA practice. I'm a CPA by trade. So I know a little bit about what it takes to start up a new business and how important the economy is for our community. Really, we can't do a whole lot of things in our community without the resources that come from property tax dollars in our business community and the individuals being successful here in our community. So we have to have that. My experience as a CPA really gives me a good understanding of how to get things out of the city's budget, making sure that we're keeping our property taxes low and competitive so that we don't prevent businesses from coming to locate here or individuals who want to come here. We have too high taxes, they're not going to want to come here. So we have to be competitive from that standpoint. I also think it's important for us to collaborate with our neighboring communities. Marion, Hiawatha, Robbins, even Iowa City, Coralville, and North Liberty. Those are communities that we need to collaborate to try to find ways that we can share services and reduce our overall costs, but yet still provide value to our citizens. All of these are things that come from my background and experience of being on the council for 12 years. I look forward to your questions and hope I can gain your support through the questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, and Tim from Pridegon.
Good evening, my name is Tim Pridegon. It's great to be here. First of all, I just want you to know that I'm not a politician. I am a preacher, a local pastor. I've been a pastor in Cedar Rapids for 26 years. I'm married to one woman. I have 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters. So guess what? When we get together, they're in control. But I love my daughters and my wife. The platform that I'm using is love, peace, and unity. And those are some of the virtues that have made this country and our city great. You know, without love and peace and unity, you really don't have much at all. So I feel like I have been inspired to run for mayor, and I want to challenge this loving city to get back to what is really important, and that's values and loving one another and caring for one another. And by doing that, we can live in peace, and we can have unity, and we can have harmony. And I think you would agree the times that we are living in, they are tremendous, difficult times, and they are perilous times. So I'm here tonight to make a difference, and I'm not a hater, but I am a lover. And I really would appreciate your vote on November the 7th. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And last, Brad Hart.
I'm Brad Hart, and I'm running for mayor to serve this great city. I'll use my professional training as an analytical problem solver, my volunteer and leadership experience developed from leading almost a dozen community organizations and causes, and my knowledge and love of this community to help fix our streets, to grow, retain, and attract high-paying jobs, to protect us from future flooding, to strengthen our neighborhoods, which will help in our fight against crime, and to expand development beyond downtown and Nouveau so that everyone in Cedar Rapids can benefit from new investment. I'll also work hard to make sure that Cedar Rapids gets its fair share and that we're treated as the second largest city in Iowa. Like Tim, I'm not a politician and I have not served as an elected official yet, but I have served this community in many ways over the last 25 years. That included chairing the Chamber of Commerce immediately after the 2008 flood. That meant going to Des Moines and to Washington, D.C. to lobby and fight for flood recovery help. I understand the legislative process. But I've also chaired the boards of 3 human service organizations, Horizons, Young Parents Network, and United Way. And that work has really given me broad knowledge, a deep understanding of our community, our strengths and weaknesses, so I know that I can and will represent everyone in our community serving as mayor. I promise to give it my all, to do my very best, so I'm asking for your support and your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to the question and answer portion of our forum. We will each have 1 minute to answer each question should you choose to do so. And again, we've added the option to rebut any of these questions. Each candidate is limited to 2 rebuttals, and rebuttals may have a 1 minute time limit. The first question, and I think what we'll do is we'll start with Mr. Gulick down at the far end and come this way. The second question, we'll start with Mr. Hinzman, the third with Mr. Robinson, and so on and so forth. So the first question, Mr. Gulick, and the rest of the candidates, has to do with the future and your vision. Cedar Rapids used to be regarded as a progressive city, enticing to young people and future-oriented. How do we get back to that, and how do we define good-paying jobs?
There's a couple questions there at least. I'll address the first question first, related to how do you attract people. One of the things that is most attractive when you go to any community around the country, and you think about the things that you enjoyed about that community, it's usually a place in that community that you remember. You have to have a place that is fun, enjoying, and likable to enjoy that. And you remember that when you think about that city. You don't necessarily remember about the city itself. You think about that place. We're creating places now in our community where people want to come to. And I think, we have Nouveau, for example, is a new place that we worked on. The downtown area, the college district is still under development. Kingston Village, Czech Village. We've had some of these in the past, but now we're focusing on recreating some of these new places because that's what attracts people to communities, is places that they can enjoy. As far as what qualifies as high-paying jobs, I think any job that provides a living wage to people and has the ability for upward economic mobility, that's the key, being able to increase.
Thank you. Mr. Hinzman.
Again, thank you. I want to start by talking about how we attract people to this community and maintain them here. And part of the issue is our economic development efforts working in the community and with our community colleges to open up recruiting pipelines to other metropolitan areas around the Midwest, that we can use Kirkwood Community College, Mount Mercy University, or Coe College to bring people into our community and then work with the colleges and local businesses that are here to, when they graduate, to have jobs for them that are well-paying jobs. And my definition of a well-paying job is not the minimum wage that we have at the current time, but more like Linn County had passed at one time, which was overturned in the legislature. So I continue to think that we need to move forward with those initiatives.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
I think it's really important for the city to do everything it can now to start investing in the youth of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We have a huge population of youth, and it's very important to drive the growth of families wanting to stay in Cedar Rapids, businesses wanting to be in Cedar Rapids, and the way that we do that is by giving people things to do in Cedar Rapids. People want to be excited after they get off of work, and that's a big part of everyday life in bigger cities or cities that are expanding. They're giving people things to do, things to be excited about in the community. A living wage is definitely not what the minimum wage is now. Nowhere near it. There's no way you can feed a family, work a job, be able to get to work and have daycare and all those things on the minimum wage. So without getting it over $12 in the $15 range, I think that it's not realistic. Try to live off the minimum wage right now yourselves and see how that works.
Thank you, Mr. Jorel.
It's a great kickoff question. The main thing that I mentioned in my opening statement is creating opportunity. If we are looking to attract young people, if we're looking to attract businesses that cater to and are looking for a young workforce, we definitely have to get younger and create that opportunity. And the way we would define a good paying job is just not a reasonable wage, but it's also a job that is challenging, that's dynamic, and has a purpose. And I don't know, I can't speak for all young people, but personally for me, I'd like to be in a job where I am contributing to the, not only the economy, but also to the community and uplifting it and making sure that I have a purpose and I'm fitting a piece in the puzzle in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
A living wage, I think the studies show it's more than $16 an hour. It's a wage that allows people to have decent housing and to raise their family. Attracting employees, jobs, we're set up to bring in employers and jobs, and if we bring the right employer in, people will come here. They'll come to Cedar Rapids to take those jobs. We need to be a more welcoming and engaged community to attract businesses and to recruit employees. We have so many more of the amenities now that young people want to stay here, so many more than we had before the flood. My 25-year-old son visited recently and said, "I was in Cedar Rapids this cool when I was 18. That's high praise from a 25-year-old. So we're making great strides. We just need to bring the right employer here, and the jobs will get filled, and people will come to this community.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Thank you. Future visioning is an important part of continuing the city to stay on top. We have great national rankings. We're very privileged to be where we are compared to many other cities. But you can't have the status quo. You need to keep moving forward. We have many issues to address, and so one of the efforts that I would make to lead would be to form those task force and bring everybody in to address those issues that we feel we're deficient in so that we can continue this great city's high rankings. Good living wage means many things to many people, but we have some great opportunities in our new apprenticeship programs because of the baby boomers retiring. We have more jobs online now that are available than we have all the unemployed in the area. We have opportunity. So we need to have a wage and benefits and advancement that allows people to enjoy the things we all hopefully enjoy and to make this a community that they want to stay in.
Thank you, Mr. Bridget.
I'll make this very personal. When I moved here in the year of 1989, I found that Cedar Rapids was a very lovely city, and it is yet a very lovely city. And so I was compelled to stay here and raise a family. And I came here with 2 daughters, and I ended up with 3. So, this is a very lovely place, and what I really like about Cedar Rapids is that people get along here. Coming out of Chicago, coming out of Illinois, it's somewhat different, but people here, they get along, people are peaceable here, you can go anywhere, and so it's a great place to live, so I'm thinking if it's not broke, then there's no need to fix it.
Thank you. Ms. Vernon.
Well, I think for a very long time, Cedar Rapids has been a progressive city, and it's why city, and the mayor has to be the leader of that. The mayor has to make sure that there's no corner of any neighborhood that gets left behind. The mayor needs to be inclusive. We've done some cool things with some neighborhoods. My kids are mentioning it too. But I think we have to appeal across our age spectrums. We have to look around the community. So we've done a great job in some of our core neighborhoods. We had to. They were darn near ruined. And we made some good decisions. And now we can use those as kind of test sites. Let's go out Johnson Avenue. And there's some districts out there that are wonderful possibilities. Ellis Boulevard needs some more help. Out Mount Vernon Road. All over our community, there are places that we can make more progressive things.
Thank you. So Mr. Hinzman, this is for you. Really switching gears here. Do you believe that we have a race relations problem in Cedar Rapids? And what is your position on Black Lives Matter?
Thank you very much. Well, that's a very interesting question, and one that we've been trying to address for some time in Cedar Rapids. Let me talk about Black Lives Matter to begin with, because I think oftentimes people do not understand what that really means. To me, that means the history and the culture of Black Americans and what has happened to them during their history. And I think when people talk about Black Lives Matter, they're certainly concerned about Black people that have been shot in the streets of our cities and looking for justice and human dignity that goes along with that. But it's deeper than that. It's understanding the culture and the history of people that we are living with, and we need to bring that human dignity down to our street level, to work with people in unity, and I think, to me, that is probably a good time to stop.
I would say that Cedar Rapids, Iowa is not like any other place. I mean, it's like any other place. We have issues like everyone else, and I think that we do try to work on those things, and I think that we have a police department that has made efforts and is making efforts. I've met with the chief of police, but there's work that can be done. We've got to be realistic about what's happening all over America, and there are unarmed Black men being shot. And there's something that we need to do about that. And there's so many things that could be done, but the conversation has to be had. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about us being up here now, is that we're able to speak about something like this with the community. It's something that's very important. When you talk about Black Lives Matter, it's a movement of people who are just saying, at the end of the day, we want to be included. We want to be included. We want to be a part of the conversation. We want our lives to matter as well. And it's not to say that anyone else's life doesn't matter. I think that's the complete opposite of it. So Black Lives Matter is very important, and I think it's something that should be very much discussed by the city.
This is a tough question to address because it's not an issue that is just as simple as saying lives matter. The first thing that all of us need to do is understand that when we are being asked this question, that should right there trigger something, that there is a problem. And we need to look for ways to understand it instead of tolerating it. And that first step is taken by asking the tough question. In those conversations, the elephant in the room has to be addressed. And then we can start to then set the path to really get a better understanding and start at home. It's a responsibility for each and every person to take up on. If you see something wrong, you owe it to your community to be able to say, hey, this is trending the wrong way. I'm going to be part of the solution instead of just tolerating and letting it go. So we have to create understanding.
The simple answer is, of course, Black Lives Matter, but that's not really the issue. It's understanding everyone in our community. It goes back to that being a welcoming and engaged community. Certainly, Blacks are underrepresented in many areas of our city, and we need to work on that. The SET task force that was formed last year, or the year before, I think, has done a great job of working through getting input and providing input, in particular to the police department, and they're taking many steps the right direction. So we need to continue to move that forward so that everyone in our community feels like they are part of the community and they can contribute and make our community stronger.
As we live in a community like Cedar Rapids, the important thing is we need to learn to trust each other and to work together and feel that you're involved in all parts of whatever happens in our community. Every life matters, and the goal is no crime in our community, no matter what neighborhood you're in or what part of the community or what your ethnicity is. We're very lucky. We have a very strong police department that is working very hard through neighborhood outreach to do things, but we have a ways to go because it's hard to understand and they're in very difficult situations. We have many communities that feel that enforcement is not fair across the board. And so that's why the set task force and other efforts, we have a dialogue and we need to continue that dialogue, and how we become a greater community is by all of us being at the same table. And that's what I will work hard to do to answer that question.
Well, obviously, you can see that I am Black, Afro-American, and yes, my life matters. And I feel like the people who are here that are looking at me, I feel like they love me. So, I feel comfortable. And I'm really glad to be here. Iowa has made me extremely welcome. And that's why I am running for mayor, to make a difference. And one of the things that I would like to do when I become mayor is bring diversity to the city council, so that when people walk into the city council, that they will see Blacks, whites, Indian, Hispanics, and by doing that, they will feel welcome. But I can tell you this, my life is so much better than my grandfather's and my father's. So yes, Black Lives Matter, and it gets back to love, peace, and unity. Thank you.
Do we have a race problem in Cedar Rapids? Yes, we do. I mean, we're a large community, and I'm sure we do. We have lots of challenges. And what about Black Lives Matter? Well, anytime a group of people puts an organization together to let others know that something's going on, something's wrong, we have to take it very seriously. To me, those are simple answers to these questions, but the biggest thing is, what do we do about it? It's one thing to say be a welcoming community. How do we be one? And I think so much of this is about communication. It's about the mayor leading this, getting out into the neighborhoods. I think the set task force started something, but I don't believe in one and done. We can't just say, okay, you people take care of this. I think it belongs to all of us to be the kind of community we really want to be, to not leave any neighborhood out, to include all people and make all people feel part of this.
We have a race relations issue. I would say we have a race relations opportunity. And all races, not just Black Lives Matter, but all races, because if we don't find ways to have our community be a welcoming community, we're not going to be able to recruit businesses here. We aren't going to be able to recruit people here. So we have to be able to make sure that we're doing that. And what does that mean? Well, it means beyond just saying hi to the neighbor next to you, it actually getting to know the neighbors and getting to know the people that are diverse. A diverse community is more healthy for the economy and for people to want to be able to recruit businesses and industry here. So I think it's an opportunity that we need to take advantage of. Do we have some issues that we have to deal with? Certainly, but I think there's great opportunity in that same issue.
Okay, if you could pass that to Mr. Robinson. The next question is about voting and voting rights. In the climate of widespread disenfranchisement, what will you do to protect voting rights from national and state attack and ensure that in Cedar Rapids it is still one person, one vote? And what are your views on felon voting rights?
Well, voting has been something I've been very excited about since I learned of the process. And I've been going door to door registering voters since before I could vote. I will do everything I can to ensure that everybody has a chance, especially this coming November 7th, to get out to the poll and vote. I have gone to the Capitol and lobbied. I've lobbied on behalf of felon voting rights, met at the Crow's Nest, lobbied with state senators, people in the House. The idea was to craft a bill, and we did, and we worked with Republicans and Democrats to get that passed, and it was killed in the House. But we were able to work with Chet Culver at the time, Secretary of State, and Governor Vilsack, and he did sign that July 5th, 2005 into law, which granted felons the right to vote in the state of Iowa, which is something I'll continue to fight for because I think that once you are amongst us and you pay taxes, you should have the right to vote, period.
We certainly should be giving second chances. Everyone deserves a second chance. So to address the felon voting rights, we can start there. As far as voting for everybody, the issue isn't that people don't want to vote. I think we need to even go further back and look at why aren't people voting, or why aren't people excited about exercising to vote? Because if we can address that and get to that root cause, we'd be able to figure out then how we are able to market and educate and do outreach and make sure that everyone's voices are heard. Now, majority of people that I've been speaking to throughout the summer and campaign cycle, their concern is, well, it's just one vote. Why does that even matter? Because the people I support haven't gotten elected anyways, or those who've gotten elected haven't fully represented me. So we need to educate and outreach and find methods that will reach home that way.
The right to vote obviously is a right of every citizen 18 and older, and we can't do anything that makes that more difficult. These are really state and federal issues. To the extent that the city can play a role in those issues, and I would certainly be opposed to anything, as I said, that makes voting any more difficult for our citizens.
It is an issue that we now see before us because of the changes in some of the laws that are happening across the country, and they're happening in our state. I have concerns about it because I'm embarrassed that in the last two city elections, we only had 22 to 25% of our registered voters vote. That's a shame. And we need to make people feel comfortable that their vote does count, and they should go to the polls. And there's nothing that touches their lives more than city government. So they should be there and express, and we need to make that as easy as possible. And our voting through the county and everything else, we have a great county direction that works hard to make sure that it's as easy as possible. I agree, felons should have the right to vote. They've served their time. We're trying to get them back into the community as productive citizens, and one of those benefits of being a productive citizen is to vote. And so we should allow felons that are coming back to be a part of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Britton.
I feel as though if a felon has paid his or her dues, they should have an opportunity to vote. And we must remember that God is a forgiving God. And if they are making an effort, and if they want to do better in life, if they desire to be a credit to society, then I think we should, do all that we can to give them a hand up. Because when we pull them up, we pull ourselves up and we please God. So once again, it really is all about love, peace, and unity. And remember that God is a forgiving God, and He wants us to have compassion on all mankind. Thank you.
I worked with Matt and worked with a felon. I didn't know he was a felon, Andrew Blood. This guy worked harder than you can believe in his neighborhood. He was there for everybody. And when it came time to vote on some issue, I think that to do with building flood protection, I said something like, hey, come on, and he said, I can't experience. I believe felons should have the right to vote, and I want to say let's go back to that. In terms of suppression of voting, I can't think of anything worse in this nation. We are stronger when we're all together. When we have a diversity of people who are all able to have opportunity and hold up some piece of the sky in each neighborhood, we are so much stronger. So I think we've got to continue, even the culture of this race, the 17 that are running for the city council races, the wonderful organizations that have put things on, it makes it more likely for people to vote.
Thank you. Our apologies for the lack of microphones.
I need the exercise. I think one of the keys here is don't disenfranchise anyone from voting. It's a democracy. That's the key to our success as a country. One of the things that you can do, and I had this personal experience, is make it easier. We want to make it easier. Other states around the country are providing opportunities to make it easier. I found out you have to have a wet signature on an absentee ballot request. It can't be a picture of the signature or a scan of it. It has to be a wet signature. Where is a wet signature required anymore? Virtually all legal documents can be scanned documents now. So you're still going to have to send it in and sign the ballot when you send it in. So make it easier for citizens to be able to vote, not harder. As far as related to the felon question, if they've done their time and done what they need to pay back to the community and the society, then they should have the opportunity to provide another vote. Get it back.
Well, I served as police chief and director of corrections, and I served as president of the American Parole and Probation Association and some other national organizations. And I can tell you that we work long and hard to try to get the voting rights and other rights for felons restored as they re-enter the community. We partnered with major foundations, and we went to Congress, and we went to the Iowa legislature and to Governor Vilsack when he was in office, and we got him to sign an administrative rule to allow people to vote. The problem with an administrative rule is good from governor to governor, and when Governor Branstad came to office, he decided to rescind that rule and make it more difficult for felons to vote again. In fact, they can't vote at this time. So the legislature can solve part of that problem if we get through to them, but the other thing is to go to the governor of Iowa and ask them to reinstate that administrative rule, and it would be the right thing to do.
Okay, Mr. Tilahun, this is for you. Mr. Robinson did the last one. Okay, if you're elected and you were to triage our city's needs, what would be your top 3 priorities for Cedar Rapids?
Top 3 priorities. Number 1 is addressing the economic development issue. Number 2, the youth engagement and getting youth involved in our city government. And number 3, not in any particular order, but these are all important. And then fixing the streets. I think we have a crumbling infrastructure that's a bit outdated, and we have made efforts to try to make it better. However, I feel that we haven't put our best foot forward, and so we need to consider alternatives and options that are cost-effective, that don't put the burden on you, the taxpayers. As far as getting youth involved, creating opportunity at City Hall to make sure that the people that we are educating here get an opportunity to stay here and actually serve the city. And that in return will address the economic development issues, because when people have opportunities, then they're able to contribute to the overall growth of our city.
Streets, streets, and streets. We're working on it. We need to continue to work on it. Flood protection. We have to have flood protection to protect investments that have been made and to encourage additional investment. And economic development. We bring in those new jobs, and that will increase our tax base, allow us to fix more of our streets, and to provide the flood protection we need.
I think there's a series of issues that have come across in the forums and events that I've been at. And it's different than the ones you always hear and that are on all our websites. Those are all important. But I'm hearing more comments about the inclusion of all ages and all neighborhoods in our city government, and we have not done a very good job about doing that. That will make a difference in a lot of areas. Affordable housing, we have a very strong economy. Rents are going up, cost of housing is going up. We have the lowest number of homes on inventory than we've had in a decade, actually. And so we have a very tight market there, and quality of life that will allow us to attract employees to this city, because we have many, many jobs going unfilled, and we can't grow this city without people that will come here and work here, and we've got to attract them and compete with other cities.
One of the main things that I would work on, I believe, would be flood control. In the year when we had the last flood, I had 2 properties on the northwest side, and I lost both of them overnight. So I would really work on flood control. Number 2, I would make an attempt to bring more prayer into the city hall. Because when we have prayer, when we have the presence of God in and over our city, it makes a tremendous difference. I think you would agree that we really need His direction. And then the third thing that I would do, I would, by the grace of God, attempt to bring diversity into City Hall so that everyone would feel welcome and so that everyone would have a voice. Diversity can only make it better. I think I mentioned to the 8 lovely people that are running, we ought to rent an 8-passenger van and start riding together.
Well, I would start with streets. I think a great city does all kinds of cool things, but it also gets the basics down. And fixing our streets and our infrastructure really sets the table for people to come here and say, wow, this city is well run and well maintained. That adds jobs in the short run and then jobs in the long run. I think flood protection, a comprehensive system for both sides of the river is so key because, first of all, it starts with some jobs, and then it creates more jobs as current industry here adds on or adds jobs that they wouldn't have otherwise if they didn't have the confidence. And finally, it's jobs in the economy, which that's all related. So I think we have to grow our own jobs here. We have some great incubators. I think we have very smart people, and 2 engineering schools close by, lots of tech people. We got to grow our own, and we've got to invest in them, and we've got to promote them. I think we just got to be louder and prouder about Cedar Rapids.
I can think of a couple of streets I'd like to have work.
Want to give those to me? Find out what we can do. Fundamental skill or fundamental service of cities and local government is public safety. We have to have a safe community in order for people to want to live here, work here, or businesses to look here. So that's one of the top priorities that we can't take our eye off that one. Infrastructure, and I take infrastructure meaning streets, flood protection, storm sewers, all of those things are critically important. We have a very aging infrastructure, and obviously the streets are the top one on that list. We need to make sure that we're putting the funds into those to be able to keep us up to par with our competing organizations around the country or competing cities. And economic development. We have to have economic development and growing our economy in order to pay for those other 2 priorities. So we need to grow our businesses here that we have here, get the new startups and help them, which is what I've done for my last 15 years of my career, and help recruit new businesses here, as well as the talent to fill those jobs that we have in our community.
Good question, thank you. I would say number 1 is public safety and gun violence. We need to get a handle on that. I think we can do that by working in our neighborhoods closer. Some of you know that I was responsible in setting up the neighborhood network that exists in Cedar Rapids today. We also developed youth programs that would allow children to grow and be healthy, and by the time they got to 18, they wanted to be a firefighter or a teacher rather than going into the criminal justice system. We need to continue those activities. I also think flood protection is very important, and I think we need to also do flood mitigation upstream and downstream until we get that flood wall in. And the last thing, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, home rule is so important. We need to make sure that we can control our own destiny on taxes, that we can control our own destiny on other events that we're trying to do, the speed cameras, collective bargaining. Those issues should be local controlled, and the more erosion there is, the worse off we're going to get. We need to take a stand on it.
I would say that a big, and it's not in a particular order, but infrastructure is huge, and it's great that we're working on the roads and stuff, but a lot of the city is crumbling. It'd be nice to see our city improving itself and trying to beautify itself. It lends itself to businesses and people wanting to be here in general. And besides our infrastructure, community, economy, those things kind of go together, but developing more businesses that want to be here, developing a community, I like the bike paths, those things are all good things that lend itself to a community really growing. And then education. If you look at the school system now, we really don't have a relationship like some of the other cities that are our size, and we should really be doing everything we can to meet the schools where the federal dollars don't, and do everything we can. I mean, there's Johnson where there's a fund running that program now, and the lunch for those kids is free every day. Those are things that go a long way in families and having families want to be here, and I think those are three things that we could really improve on.
Okay, would you pass it to Mr. Hart, please? Okay, next question. Many of you, I think maybe all of you, talked about flood protection, so this is has to do with that. When will the levee for the west side of the Cedar at Czech Village be completed? Is there adequate funding? And what would you do to increase funding, whether it's federal, state, or local?
There is a schedule and a plan, and I will confess that I don't know when the levee on the west side will be finished. That work is being done, and the work being done around Newbow, because that's the lowest lying area. That's the area that floods first. So it makes sense that we would work on those areas first. The federal dollars, we have to keep pushing on those. They promised them we're going to keep pushing. The state dollars we were getting from the GRI bill, that's the Growth Reinvestment Initiative. That is what allows us to keep the growth in our sales tax to use for flood protection. I'm certain we're going to have to go back to the state and ask for an extension and an increase in that amount because the costs are going up and because we don't have the federal dollars. I think the state will do that. I think they'll give us that because they recognize how important Cedar Rapids is to the entire state of Iowa. So we'll keep pushing on that. We have to have flood protection on both sides of the river.
Our flood plan has been approved by the Corps of Engineers, and the first sections are underway, plus in several projects that have been built up and down the river. We have flood walls already built into them, but it's a very tedious and long-term process as our funds are flowing in increments, mainly from grants and from the state sales tax portion that we get back. We're only half funded if it takes us 10 to 20 years. And that's the projection right now. If we don't find any surge of funding, it's 10 to 20 years before we get there. The Czech Village section will go up next year. And and then we'll keep on working up the river from low to high. I think it's important that we look down the road that there's a chance we're not going to get our federal funds, and so we need to be creative, and that we are looking at different ways to increase that funding by going back to the state, to looking at other grants, to looking at funding districts possibly, and of course we could also bond and speed up the process. So we have lots of things to work on, and flood protection is a critical.
I really admire the way Mayor Corbin and our city council has gone about trying to get flood control squared away. And I really wouldn't change anything. I would just continue to, seek Washington and our state and our city funds and hope that we could get them as soon as possible. So, the flood concern is a problem for all of us. During the spring, the first thing we think about is the river going to rise. And that's an awful thought. And again, I lost 2 properties, so I think the way Mayor Corbin and the City Council has gone about it, I think we should continue that same progress.
So once you get your state and local funding mechanisms, you can go to the federal government, and we only had that ability for the on the citizens of Cedar Rapids. I think the federal government made a promise to us. Goodness, my grandparents started paying federal income taxes in the late teens of the last century, 100 years ago. So, we haven't asked for much here. They need to help us out. Right now, the rule that they're working under values land more than people. So it values the coast because their land is worth more. We've got to keep being polite and persistent and squawk about that a little bit more. I also think that we can get dollars out of different departments of the federal government, agriculture, commerce. There's a possibility for Homeland Security. So I think we keep working on it. We never give up on that. And I think we can secure something. But we're going to have to continue to visit about that. Thank you.
Yes, the Czech Village section will be completed in 2019 and started next year. Should be completed in 2019. The flood protection system that we're going to be putting in place is going to last for 100 years or better. So why should today's taxpayers pay 100% of that? My concept is to stretch out the payment over a much longer period of time, which can be done through a public-private partnership where it could probably get built in a lot less time, reducing tens of millions of dollars of cost by reducing the amount of time it takes to construct the project, and being paid off over a much longer period of time so that today's taxpayers aren't overly burdened with any of those payments. I think we still fight the federal government and work towards that, but we need to take this on ourselves and do what we can to get it accomplished and get it done in the shortest period of time possible, because the clock is ticking.
But when we talk about flood protection and how we're going to do that, by the way, the whole panel answered the question very well with a lot of ideas of how we go after federal money and state money and different concepts. And certainly I think there are other opportunities that we have left unexplored at this point. And most of you that know me know that I go after grants and I usually come back with them. So I think we have some opportunities to look at what the state government still has to offer and also what the federal government has to offer. And there are other departments within the federal government, commerce, agriculture, that can and should be bringing money to an agricultural state. The other issue that I think is important to remember is that we should make our presence known in the Iowa legislature and in Congress and not let any infrastructure bill get out of either one of those bodies without a mention of Cedar Rapids, Iowa and their need for flood protection.
Flood protection is very, very important. And I think as Monica had mentioned, how the funding to us is laid out now, it's not going to happen. Realistically, if they don't change the guidelines, the only thing that makes sense is for them to increase funding to the group who will give us the funds, who has the actual ability to lay out the funds that have been approved. So realistically, I think it makes sense to keep doing that, trying to get that to actually happen. So a federal fight makes sense because those funds are there and there's no reason that we shouldn't get them. Our city is very important. The people in this city, we have just as much value as anywhere else. And it's hard to say that property value is what's going to determine that. On a state level, it makes sense for us to have many plans in motion when it comes to this, from trying to figure out ways to save on getting the flood protection up for both sides, trying to figure out ways to lower costs should be our number one thing. We're looking at numbers from 10 years ago. I work at GoDaddy Technology. Those numbers are going to be different if we look at it now.
So for those of you that missed the answer, when the completion for that flood wall will be 2019. I heard it directly from the source. So the one thing we must do is we got to get moving. I am just frustrated that we are waiting for the federal government to come out and give us our portion of the funding. I feel like there's something that's false hope. And one thing we must do is look outside the box and think about the alternative way, which is how can we get private and public financing and partnerships going to get things moving here in the community so that when we add value to our city, you know, maybe the government will too. So we gotta find ways to get moving ourselves.
question is for you to start. When affordable housing projects come up, often there is backlash in the planned neighborhood. How do you plan on working with neighborhoods to help get more affordable housing? And what might you do in terms of city ordinances to support the growth of affordable housing?
We do not need situations that occur like the one on the northwest side. We have an affordable housing commission, but there's no members appointed to that affordable housing commission. It was created by Mayor Candy. I served on it for the 10 years it existed and chaired it 9 years. We need to reactivate that. We need to have a staff person that's dedicated to finding grants and things to create affordable housing at the city level in our housing department. And we need to put money on the table that will allow us to encourage developers to build more affordable housing. We have some great plans coming down the pipe here in the near future for a neighborhood finance corporation that's been very successful in Des Moines, combined with banks and private funding. That, along with this effort of putting together a team and talking. There are groups talking about it, but the city needs to be in this game. And we can do that by reactivating things that we already have on the books and then bringing people to the table. Thank you.
I think bringing back the RISC program is a good start. It gives people an opportunity to own their own home and gives them an opportunity to feel good about themselves. So I think the RISC program, it helps people who might have trouble getting a regular loan. So bringing that back, I think that would be a step in the right direction. And I think people in general, by having their own home, you just feel better. And you're probably going to take care of it because you have something invested. And I believe in people working, and when people work, and when they invest, then they will take care of what they have.
I'm a really strong believer in affordable housing, and I chaired the development committee of the city council for 6 years, and that was neighborhood development. And from the flood onward, we saw 39 affordable housing projects come through. Now, you're thinking, wow, really, in this town? Well, some of them are townhomes. Some of them are larger, mostly masonry buildings. I'm really proud of what we put around this community. I think the best kind of affordable housing programs are spread throughout the community so that people who, now remember, these are for people who are mostly working, have a lower income. So it puts them in areas where they can get to work, where their children populate our different neighborhood schools. So I'm really proud of the work we've done. They're beautiful, they're safe, they're clean, and they're well run. And I wholeheartedly supported this last common bond on Netwood.
I think the mayor needs to take a leadership role in making sure citizens have a good understanding of what affordable housing really means. It's the teacher that teaches your kids, it's the radiologist technician that's living there, it's the auditor that works at Rockwell Collins. People don't have an understanding of what the housing type that's going in there and who might be living there. Then they think everything bad. They don't think about the positives of that. So really, the mayor needs to take that leadership role. I had an example where we had a place in our neighborhood that was going in, and so at my district meeting, when I had my meeting, which I've been doing for the last 12 years, I had an opportunity to explain to people what that affordable housing project was looking like and who are the likely people that were going to be living in that community. And they said, well, I didn't realize that. That's the mayor's job, is to make sure that he's doing communications to the public so that they have that understanding, so they don't get that misperception about what affordable housing is and is not.
Well, I generally support affordable housing and being located in the community. But I can tell you, as somebody that has zoned and built pretty large corrections complexes, that's where you really run into opposition, and you need to think about the public's concerns. In most cases, we renegotiated with the communities on where we were going to locate rather than forcing ourselves in the community. interestingly enough, afterwards, all sorts of businesses, hotels, and restaurants built up around us. And in Coralville, the Coral Ridge Mall became our neighbor in the future. So I think there needs to be a place in the ordinance, a place for every type of business or residence to locate. And if we work together as a community, we can zone those things appropriately, and we can have harmony within our communities.
I think that affordable housing is something that just, I mean, it has a very bad reputation based on just hearsay, a lot of it not backed up by actual fact or statistics. Affordable housing is something that we need if we're going to grow. We want people to be able to live here and be able to work. We want to see crime decrease. Having affordable housing and people being able to have places to live and go home to is important, and it really does lend itself to that. I do think it's also important that we take into consideration the community if they're that vocal about it. As he mentioned, it could be that the education isn't there or the facts aren't there, and it's important that we as mayor or in City Hall do a very good job of explaining what's happening, what's going on, the ins and outs of it, and what the idea behind that is. But I think it's important we have affordable housing throughout the city and not just in certain areas.
The one thing that we must do from the get-go, as Kris mentioned, is the mayor has to take leadership in really establishing clear guidelines and communicating the message effectively. Once we've cleared that up and established that affordable housing isn't a handout, it's a program that helps people in the community who are contributing a way to their upward mobility, and also give them ownership in the issues and give them a stake in what's going on around them. So we've got to communicate that clearly and completely.
Cedar Rapids does not have all the housing options a city our size should have. That includes single-family home construction. It certainly includes affordable housing. I've really been pleased in the last year that there's been a lot of promotion and information in the community about what affordable housing is. It's really workforce housing. As Kris said, it's housing for single parents. It's housing for young families. Let's give them a chance to live in a decent place so they can raise their family and grow in their careers. I would absolutely support affordable housing projects. We need them. And as the mayor, I would continue to emphasize what they really are, and they're a benefit for our entire community.
Okay, Mr. Pridgen. This one's for you. Sorry. Little breeze come through. Okay. Do you support the use of public labor agreements to help ensure that local workers can work on local projects?
Yes, I believe in the local union because I think the local union, it causes us to do the thing that is right. You know, people need time off. Women need time off for maternity leave. We need better insurance. And overall, it just makes it better. It creates a better bond, and it helps families to maybe come together and spend more quality time together. So yes, I am for a local union, and I think that only makes us better. It causes us to think about what we are doing, because we should all be treated right. We should all be treated equally. So yes, I am a believer of the bond. Thank you.
Well, the city council passed planned labor agreements after the flood for some of our big projects, and they were extremely successful. We had one that was kind of banned by the state, but we ended up with 2 of them. And it ended up serving several purposes. We had labor in there that had been well-trained, whether you're talking about iron workers, whether you're talking about plumbers and pipe fitters, carpenters, electricians. But what we also had was, if you remember, when we had the devastating flood, we also had a devastating recession. And because of the way we bid these out, with what the state requires of us, we would have had to have taken the absolute low bid, and maybe not hire locally. And that's one of the things we really wanted to do was hire local. So what we did was we hired trained labor union members out of the local halls, but what we also got was local people. And so it was a great success all the way around.
I've been on the city council for 12 years, so I have a record. And have to stand behind the record. I voted for the project labor agreement when we had those on the city council's agenda. One of the reasons why was to keep things local as much as we can. The bidding laws that we have for public projects in the state of Iowa say we have to accept the lowest responsive bidder. The lowest is pretty easy to tell. Responsiveness and responsible is a little bit more of a fuzzy thing, but ultimately it falls down to lowest price, and that's unfortunate because it would be much better if we could have the opportunity to evaluate those contractors on whether or not they're a local business and what their business practices are. We don't have that ability to do that in current state law, so we don't. One of the ways we helped to make sure that we had that local presence here in Cedar Rapids was to initiate the project labor agreements. It worked out fine. There was a lot of hullabaloo about it, but it worked just fine, and we had a good project, and the project got done, and we've got a good, successful project completed.
Well, I absolutely support project labor agreements. There are so many benefits for the community when you are using your local labor force. And think about our labor force in Cedar Rapids going to work and paying their taxes and keeping that money in our economy, because they grow our economy by shopping here, sending their children to our schools, and the benefits are so great for our community. Take that as opposed to allowing unions coming in from out of state, or probably not unions, but workers coming in from out of state, from Kansas or Oklahoma or Texas, and sending their money back home, and their economies flourish on the back of our taxpayers. And so we should support project labor agreements. They allow us to get the job done quicker because they put in place no strike clauses, and they put in place the salaries that the employees will be paid, and it allows the project to get done with a lot of good work.
To be brief, I support the unions. I support being local. I think that we should look at every opportunity to take this dollar bill out of my pocket and see how many times it can go through the room. And that's how we should look at the city. How many times can we get these dollar bills to keep running themselves through Cedar Rapids? We have all the resources, everything that we need here. We need to stay local as much as we possibly can.
Safe to say that if we hire local and keep things local, we'll circulate our economy here. It'll be building and getting better and improving from us. So by all means, supporting any local work and hiring local.
Project labor agreements may not be perfect for every project and for every community. The knock on them is that they sometimes increase the cost because the employers have to pay Davis-Bacon wages, and those are sometimes higher than they're paying in smaller communities. Every employer is paying Davis-Bacon wages or more in Cedar Rapids, so it doesn't increase our cost here. As chair of the chamber after the flood, PLA for the convention center was a huge issue, a state issue and a local issue, and we supported the PLA because it was so important to keep labor local and put people back to work, and we knew that the job would be done right.
We're fortunate to live in Cedar Rapids again because of the quality that we have here in our labor unions and all of the companies that do construction work in this community. As an architect, the quality, we're spoiled. And I did a lot of projects in smaller communities, not near the quality. Unfortunately, most of our state is rural, so they tied our hands at the state level, not allowing us to do this. It should be our right to be able to have PLAs. I've always supported them, will continue to support them. We need to find a way to convince our state legislators to give Cedar Rapids and other cities that have these strong construction unions that have put together that quality work And our wages are such that they will not impact us. And so it's important that we work together and get over this so we have the right to make that decision and use the quality that we're so fortunate to have in our city.
Okay, Ms. Vernon, this will be the last question because of the time. I'm sorry we didn't get to so many questions. You all had wonderful questions. This last one is, what 3 personal attributes make you who you are today, and what will they do for the community as if you're mayor?
Okay, well, I'd say number 1 is just my ability to make friends with people. I just enjoy everybody I meet. I think everybody brings something to the table, and I really believe in that. I've always believed that. So I believe that with diversity of people, we're stronger. And so the other thing is, as mayor, when you're out doing economic development, it's all about, it's not like a city and a company, it's people to people. So I think that's one of them. One of them is also creativity. You know, I can just look at a project. I studied cities for so long. I started on planning commission for 10 years. And then, you know, the last few years here, so 20 years I've been looking at cities. And I can just set a creative eye to it. And I think beyond that, you can trust me. When I say I'm going to do it, when I say I'm going to do something, my word is my bond, and that's how I always operate. Thank you.
I think one of the attributes that I've had people tell me about is I'm an objective decision maker. I'll look at the issue on both sides of an issue before I make a decision and make that ultimate decision that I feel is in the best interest of the community as a whole. That's what you need to expect out of your leaders in your community. You never know what kind of questions or issues are going to come before the city council, and so you need to make sure that they're going to be a good decision maker. Another area that I have particular expertise in is obviously I have a financial background, and so I can understand how to get the most out of our finances that we have in our community. That's a technical experience. I have the ability to analyze that, critical thinking skills to try to find ways to solve problems. And lastly, comes from my parents. They volunteered tremendously. They lived on a farm, got done working, they went home. They went home, cleaned up, went into town and volunteered. That was passed on to my sister and I, and that's the reason why I ended up running for office in the very first place.
I think most people who know me would tell you that I'm a visionary, that I look at what we can be done instead of what we are doing, and I work hard to lead people in a collaborative way to get those jobs done. I think people would tell you that I'm an honest person, and like others have said, if I tell you that I'm going to do something, you know I'm going to do it, and I'll do it right, and I'll do it in a way that we can work together on it. Another attribute that I have is a long history of working with government organizations. I've worked at the national level, lobbying Congress. I've worked at the state level, lobbying the legislature. And oftentimes, when we had difficult problems that we needed to push through the legislature, I was the point person to do that. You know, I've mentioned home rule several times already, and I can tell you that I'll put a collaborative group together to address that issue.
Anybody who knows me will tell you that I'm a hard-working young guy. Anything that I put my mind to, I'm going to give it 110%, try as hard as I possibly can. You look at current city council, the other thing, I bring a different perspective than what's currently there. Single parent household, grew up visiting my dad in prison. It's a very different perspective than what's currently there, a more everyday perspective. And then also I care about this city. It's a place that I love. I don't plan on going anywhere else. I plan on being here no matter what happens with this race. I'm going to do everything I can to help improve the city of Cedar Rapids.
So much harder to get out and talk about yourself. I've learned that throughout this campaign season. But 3 abilities and attributes that I bring is one, I really take pride in my ability to build and maintain relationships. And there is nothing more important in life than building relationships that are genuine. Secondly, it's imagination. Knowledge is nothing without the imagination, and that imagination leads to innovation. Thirdly, and it's my confidence, and I was brought up and raised to believe in myself and always bet on myself.
Hard work. People who know me know that I will do whatever it takes to get the job done, and I won't quit until the job is done. My word is my bond, as everyone up here. You can trust what I say. And I'm not going to lead you on. I will do what I say I'm going to do. And leadership. And leadership means listening to people, getting their advice, getting their thoughts, and then ultimately making a decision to move something forward.
My campaign theme is proven leadership. And what I have learned over the years is to how to be creative. That comes from my architectural training, my education, and serving on numerous boards and commissions. You learn to think creatively and find solutions. So taking that leadership role, taking that skill and creativity, and finally a very strong and deep knowledge of this community so that I can hit the ground running as your mayor.
You will find that I am a man of prayer. I'm a very God-fearing man. I love people, and I'm very honest, and I'm very peaceable. And I believe in unity and reconciliation. And I want to see our city thrive, and I want to see us get along. And so I'm asking for your vote on November the 7th. I can assure you that you will not be disappointed. Thank you.
Okay, before we, Mr. Hart, Brad Hart will start with closing statements. And before we do that, what I wanted to do is share with you some of the other questions that these citizens have for you, and so that you can think about it as you continue your campaigns. Several questions about economic development and corporate tax incentives in particular, and how they're used for economic development. There's a question about sanctuary city. Would you support efforts on a sanctuary city? How would you work with the city manager? And I think the city manager's here tonight, so you can talk to him about that. Casino revenue, and we've tried to get a casino in Cedar Rapids a couple of times and haven't been successful. Casinos must give part of their revenue to the cities in which they, or the counties in which they reside. That is not distributed fairly across the state, so that a city like ours doesn't get the same amount per our population. There are a couple of questions on education and how we would work better with schools. There's a question on the broad political spectrum from liberal to conservative. Where would you place yourself? Everybody keeps saying that we are a progressive city. What does that mean? What steps might you take to get citizens more engaged in local elections? In terms of attracting new businesses, how would you discern between those who need tax incentives and those who can pay their own way? There's a question about red light speed cameras. What would you do to encourage citizen participation in city government? What specifically would you do differently to improve the streets and handle flood protection? We talked a little bit about that already. City services, are you in favor of outsourcing any city services if it can save the taxpayers money? Some cities have had trouble with racial profiling with their police departments. What will we do to prevent that from becoming a problem? What is your position on the legalization of fireworks? Would you support, I think a lot of people here know it's better Would you support a rezoning ordinance that allows for urban livestock? What initiatives do you propose to manage the climate challenges? How can we make public transportation better serve the community? What is your stance on city employee pay and compensation, such as health care? What experience do you have solving crime issues? What would you do to fill the void in things to do for teens and tweens? My kids are bored. I did not write that. How will we get services in the city core to promote infill instead of sprawl? Connect Cedar Lake to the Sleeping Giant Bridge has been supported by the current council. We will continue to support it. Recreation and amenities, what's the city doing to bring more employers and jobs to Cedar Rapids? Where does the rebuild of a senior center fall on your list? Will you work to restore weekend hours at the Cedar Rapids libraries? Will you guide and direct the completion of our streets projects, and do you support the bike lanes? Where do you stand on the Jones Park Golf Course? What are your feelings about bike rights of way, and what will you do to restore home rule in light of Iowa legislature's decision of raising minimum wage, etc.? So lots and lots of questions we did not get to. I'm so sorry that we didn't, because they are good ones. I think probably the candidates will stay a few minutes afterwards, so if your question did not get asked, please take the time to ask your question of them individually. We're going to start now with closing statements, and Brad Hart.
Thank you all for being here. I firmly believe that my professional background, my leadership skills, and my service to this community make me uniquely qualified to help lead Cedar Rapids in the years to come. This vote on November 7th should be for a proven leader, someone who loves this community and will make decisions based solely on what's right for Cedar Rapids. On the table outside in the hall, there's a sheet that lists some of my professional and volunteer qualifications and recognition. We put that together just to help show that when I take something on, I do give it my all. I'm usually successful, and my efforts are often recognized by my peers. And I promise to give that same effort even more as your next mayor. So I'm again asking for your support and your vote, but I'm also asking that you continue to I'm excited about Cedar Rapids. Our future is very bright when we all work together. Thank you.
Tim Bridget.
Thank you. Again, I have been here since 1989, spring of '89, and I worked in the Linn County Detention Center, the Linn County Jail. I'm a chaplain in the police department, fire department, so as you can see, I am here to make a difference. And the reason you should vote for me is because I'm a man of peace, and I'm a lover, and I can get things done. And I'm a man who has purpose, and I'm a man who has value. I was born in the year of 1956, in the year 1956, in the ghetto. I came through the flood, lost my properties, but God has brought me back up on my feet, and I'm going strong, and now I'm running for mayor. And if you vote for me, you will not be disappointed. And I'm a man that loves the city, and I will do this city much good. Thank you so much, and we appreciate the opportunity. And give us a vote on November the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kris Gulick.
Thank you for being here tonight. I'm the most prepared to be your next mayor. That preparation has been the last 12 years of being on the city council, having to deal with difficult decisions throughout the flood, as well as good understanding of the finances of the city and how we were able to prepare and provide for the services that we have as a community. I'm prepared to go out and recruit businesses and be the cheerleader and ambassador for Cedar Rapids to attract people from around the country to Cedar Rapids. I want Cedar Rapids to be a place that communities around the country envy and want to strive to be like us and replicate our success here in our community. I want to make sure that we work with our neighboring communities. I have that experience. I've developed those relationships. And lastly, the communication piece is really an important piece. My wife, every time we have an issue, says, "You aren't communicating very well." So one of the things that I've been doing throughout my entire career on the city council has been providing that information to citizens by going out and meeting with them. I have had the opportunity to meet with thousands of people through my district meetings and neighborhood coffees that I've done. That has provided me feedback to help me make better decisions as a city council member. I would do that same thing as mayor and expect to have good results from that. We're in the quality of life business. My original background was in Parks and Recreation. I know it's kind of hard to believe I'm a CPA today, but that's what I am. We are in the quality of life business. I know and have the ideas and solutions to help our community create a better quality of life for people to live here, work here, and play here, and are wanting to come and move here. Thank you, and I hope to get your support on November 7th.
And Monica Vernon.
Well, thanks to all of you for being here tonight, and a huge thanks to the League of Women Voters for organizing and moderating. We talked about possible voter suppression earlier, and these kinds of events really help, I think, to bring everybody out. So as a candidate, I know we can always count on you, so thank you so much. The position of Cedar Rapids mayor is just a huge one as we look forward with this community. It's a leadership position. We have a great city manager. I know because I led the charge to go out and find him, and he's a great manager, and he's got a really strong staff working with him. But it's the leadership work underneath that and with that, right by them, that really is going to make a difference in where we go forward. And that's the job of the mayor. I think of the mayor as somebody who not only looks at the risk of doing something, but also looks at the risk of not doing it. Why are we called a progressive community? Because I think we've always used technology. We've looked forward. We've said, look, we've gotten on the mountaintop and said, look, what could be over the next hill? We better prepare. We better do a better job. To me, that's what being progressive is. You'll see me as a catalyst, getting things started. You'll see me as a convener, putting organizations and different groups of people together to solve problems and find opportunities for people. I'll be a spark plug when we get stalled. I'll be a scout to go out and find people throughout the community from different neighborhoods and different groups to be on our boards and commissions. I'll be a full-time mayor. I'll give it my all for all of you every single day. To me, I'll bring my energy and my enthusiasm so that we work every day on doing great things for this city we love. Go Cedar Rapids.
Scott Olson.
Thank you. Isn't it great that we have 8 candidates for mayor? I think that sends a signal about how people feel about our city. And so you have a choice, and a great choice to pick from tonight. I stand ready to serve. I'm ready to serve. I'll be effective from day one. When elected, I intend to retire from my full-time profession because I've watched Ron Corbett and how much time he spends to make this city what it is today. But we need to remember the mayor is 1 vote out of 9. 1 vote out of 9. So you have to build the team and to get the rest of the team to work together. We're seeing at the federal level, the state level, diversity politics that have stalled out all the initiatives. We've not had that in Cedar Rapids. We don't want that in Cedar Rapids. I will continue to have that positive attitude where we work together as a team. As I mentioned, what I've learned is to listen, to be creative, to find ways to get things done, find the funding, to assemble a team to make things happen. The critical part of our effort is it's not just the mayor. He has to provide that leadership, or she provide that leadership. We have to work hard together as a team, as a council, with the city staff. But the most important part is we need to get people like you involved in city government. And the fact that we have 8 candidates plus all the other people running means we have people that want to get involved. So I respectfully ask for your vote on November 7th. You'll find that my proven leadership will make a difference, and I will work very hard to continue the solid growth and activities we have in this community that solve the problems that are still there to make us even greater. Thank you for being here tonight.
Now, Gary. Gary Hinzman.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. It's been a real pleasure to be able to interact with you and give you an opportunity to see what all the candidates are like. Hopefully you'll like me as well. But I want to tell you that I feel extremely qualified to step into the mayor's office. I've had 4 decades of working in complex government organizations. I've served on boards and commissions within the city of Cedar Rapids for years. I served on 2 foundation boards. We've grown and implemented new programs that have become national models. Our neighborhood network is one. Our youth programs are another one. And we've been very proud of what we've accomplished. When I retired almost 5 years ago, I decided that I could still serve the city of Cedar Rapids, which I really love dearly. And I was appointed to the Civil Service Commission for Police and Firefighters. And subsequent to that, I was asked to chair the Gun Violence and Public Safety Task Force for the city of Cedar Rapids. And that was part of the SET initiative that so many people have mentioned tonight. So throughout my career, I have always been there. I have stood up when other people were wondering what to do and provide leadership, and I can now provide leadership for the future as well. And I would ask you to think about who you really want to vote for in the future. You have a unique opportunity because I am a candidate that is fully qualified, has had the experience of going through some tough decisions, and I'm ready to serve this community at this time. So remember, my name is Gary Hinzman, and I'm running for mayor, and I will appreciate your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Lemi Tilahun.
Once again, thank you all for being here, and League of Women's Voters for the opportunity to come out and engage with our fellow Cedar Rapidians. I just want to say to you, don't let the baby face fool you. I constantly get reminded by my siblings that I have an old soul. So that may be comforting to some of you who want to take a chance on the young guy. But on a serious note, we must hold our elected officials accountable and not just stop when times are good and kick the can down the road. Far too many times I've seen this growing up, that the city just gets stagnant, and I think we ought to be looking for ways to always be efficient and effective, and make sure that we are looking for innovative ways to serve our community and serve one another. We certainly have the capabilities, we have the resources. What we have been lacking is the will and direction. And once we get that, I think we are able to address some of the issues that we do face head on. And I just want to remind you once again, I'm looking to bring that direction and that will and that youth and imagination to City Hall. And if you take a chance and let me be your mayor, I will serve you proudly.
And Jorel Robinson.
I am definitely ready to serve. I love the city of Cedar Rapids. My goal here is to take Cedar Rapids in a direction of up, meaning being innovative and leading as a city, which being number 2, we can do that in many ways, and we have many resources here to do that. A big reason and a big part of me running is to get more everyday people involved in the process. And I have to ask, what are we waiting for? I get that we all have jobs and we have families and we have real things going on, but this right here is very real for all of us. It's time that we start showing up at the polls. We start showing people that we care about what's going up and what's coming down in this city. In the last mayoral election, 45,000 people under the age of 18 to 34 had the chance to vote, and less than 3,000 cast a ballot. It's a sad state of affairs. And what we need to do a better job of is getting our community excited about being involved in the process, excited about what's happening in our city. All of us have a voice. As the mayor, my goal would be to get out there in the community and start hearing those voices, start seeing what the people want in this city, and how we can affect this city in a positive way. Too often we see events like this happen, and then we don't hear from them until there's time to get on another ballot. And so what I want you guys to do is start holding us more accountable. Start showing up at City Hall, start showing up at the polls. Let them know that this is serious for you and you want to see things done in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And that's why I'm running. So November 7th, Jorel Robinson, the website, all that stuff is there, but I really appreciate your vote. If you have any questions, I would love to speak with you.
Thank you. I have a couple of announcements that I want to make, but before I do that, let's all, would you all help me? I'd like to thank you all for your indulgence in going over about 15 minutes. I appreciate that. Thank the Cedar Rapids Public Library for providing this facility. And just to let you know, there are several other upcoming forums on October 19th at Hiawatha Community Center for Hiawatha City Council, October 23rd at Loud Park for Wards 2, 4, and at-large City Council, October 24th at City Hall for Mayor and City Council, and October 26th at Kennedy High School Cafeteria for District 1 City Council. The Linn County Auditor's Office has candidate forms listed, so you may go there as well. There's also, I think this is out on the table out in the hall, a public notice is given that 2 satellite voting stations have been established for the November 7th election as well. Open October 24th at the Hiawatha Public Library and Wednesday, October 25th at the Cedar Rapids Public Library. You know, it is really a unique and special thing to have as many dedicated, caring, wonderful, smart, visionary, communicative, persistent candidates as we have at this table tonight. I have to say that the mayor is the titular head of a city. The mayor represents you all. I know a little bit about that. But let me tell you, you wouldn't go wrong with any one of these candidates. So thank you all for caring enough to run for public office. It's really special that we have so many to choose from. And thank you for tonight.